finally D50 is what you did in the past life, and because of it, what karma you have to experience in this life. That is the most important chart, apart from Rasi chart. Now, because the recording is here, is it recording already? I think it is. So, because the recording is here now, I will start talking about the topic that I wanted to start, Arudha Padas. So, Grahas, Rashis, Bhavas and Vargas are divisional charts. These are the four basic pillars of Vedic astrology that we have covered so far, and we have seen some examples. And there is another important aspect, Arudhas. Some astrologers in India don't even make the Arudha Chakra, but lot of people, especially in northeast part of Andhra Pradesh, in the Godavari area, Godavari district, even Krishna district, in those areas, Arudha Chakra is very popular. And some people think that this is part of Jaimini astrology. There is so-called Jaimini astrology based on the teachings of Jaimini Maharshi. And lot of people in Godavari districts of Andhra Pradesh state, they use Jaimini system very dominantly. So that area, that region is considered the Jaimini astrology area, and their Arudha Chakras are a must. People don't make charts without Arudha Chakras. And what you have to realize is, Parashara also talked about Arudhas. Jaimini talked about Arudhas. Parashara covered them in great detail, even though people just ignore it. The way people look at Parashara is, Parashara wrote a big book. And then later people like Varaha Mihra, Kalyana Varma, Mantreshwara, all these people wrote other books like Brihad Jatakam, Saravadi, Phaladipika. What people do think is, whatever those savants wrote, they consider that to be Parashara's teachings. The actual Parashara's teachings are much more voluminous. So I do not consider Mantreshwara's teachings to be Parashara's teachings. Those are Mantreshwara's teachings. If you go to Parashara's actual teachings, as in Brihad Parashara Hora Shastram, he talked about Arudhas. So let us be clear that Arudha Chakras, Arudhas are part of both Parashari astrology as well as Jaimini astrology. And if you ask me, there are two astrologies. It's basically one Jyothishya, that Parashara and Jaimini both taught, if you ask me. So let us, after making the clarification, let us see what Arudhas are. These are extremely important.
Are the basics are common between both?
Yes, basics are common. Whatever Jaimini taught, Parashara taught that also. Only thing is, certain foundations are the same. Only thing is, Jaimini took a few concepts and went deeper into those concepts. Okay. But the thing is, the moment you use Argala, or the moment you use Rasidrishti, or the moment you use Arudhas, people say, oh, this is Jaimini astrology. I don't do it. I do Parashari astrology. I don't use them. That's what some astrologers in India say these days. Okay. Even very learned astrologers. But the bottom line is, those were defined by Parashara also. So it's basically one astrology. And both were probably, they belonged to the same time. They were contemporaries. Whatever Parashara taught, Jaimini took a few things and went deeper into those teachings. So anyway, let me define what Arudha Pada is. And before defining the actual computation, again, if you don't understand the computation, you don't have to worry, because software does it for you. But try to understand it. It's not very complicated. But before that, let me tell you the underlying philosophy behind Arudha Pada. Let's take somebody's abilities, for example. The fifth house, we said, shows one's abilities, right? What do you mean by one's abilities? For example, let's say abilities in learning. Somebody's fifth house in D24. That is somebody's abilities as far as learning is concerned. Now, how do you see those abilities? When you talk about my abilities, do you know exactly what my abilities are? Can anybody see them? Can anybody feel them? Can anybody perceive them? Even I can't perceive what my abilities are. Those are very abstract. When you talk about somebody's abilities, it's an abstract concept. It's not really solid, or it's not material. It doesn't manifest in a way you can perceive it. What are my abilities? You don't know. All you know is, oh, this guy, he knows astrology. Oh, this guy, he was state first in intermediate exams. Oh, this guy studied at IIT Madras. So from those, you have a sense of what my abilities are. But do they clearly define my abilities? If somebody is taking an examination, based on the score he gets in the exam, you judge his ability. You think, oh, because this guy got 90 out of 100 in the exam, he is able, he is intelligent. And somebody else may get only 50 marks or 40 marks. So you think, oh, he's not that intelligent. But are the marks that somebody gets in a particular examination, are they a good reflection of one's abilities? That somebody who gets lot of marks, is he necessarily intelligent always? Not necessarily. This is only one aspect. What the marks in examinations, or the ranks one gets in examinations, all these are things that you can see, things that you can perceive. So based on those, you form your impressions. But is it necessary that one's real abilities be reflected in those perceivable things? Marks in an examination, ranks in, for example, intermediate or BSc or BCom or BTech, the ranks that you get, there may be IIT entrance examination or engineering entrance examination in AP, you may get a particular rank in that examination. All these things, or if you are doing BA or MA, you may be getting a university, you may be a university gold medalist, or you may have only 60% marks. All these things, they enable people to form an impression about your abilities, about your intelligence. But they do not really reflect your real intelligence. Your real intelligence is hidden within you. Nobody can perceive it, including you. The intelligence of a person is something that you can't perceive. It's just an abstract concept. On the other hand, if you talk about one's marks in examinations, one's scores, one's ranks, or one's awards, for example, you take an actor, he may get President's Award for a particular role in a particular movie, or his movie may do well. It may be a big hit, or a sportsman, one day he may make 300 runs. So based on it, oh, he is very capable, you will think, based on the runs he makes. Or a filmmaker may get Bharat Ratna Award or Padma Bhushan Award. So based on it, you think, oh, he's a very good filmmaker. He's very talented. So when it comes to somebody's abilities, talent and intelligence, you form an impression based on perceivable things like awards, ranks, trophies, marks, scores, all these things. All these things are perceptible. So based on it, you form your impression. But the real thing is within that person. You can't see it. So there is something known as Arudha Pada. What Arudha shows is something that is, Arudha literally means, what does Arudha mean? Does somebody know? The risen one. Arudha means to rise. Arudha means risen. It means the risen one. So what rises materially in the material world that you can see. If you talk about one's real intelligence, it's not an Arudha. It does not rise. It is hidden within you, within that person. So it is not seen. It cannot be seen. So the actual houses from Lagna that we talked about until now, they don't show things that are perceptible materially. They only show hidden things within you. For example, let's take fourth house in D16. D16 is the chart of Sukha, Asukha, comfort, discomfort, vehicles. So if you look at the fourth house in that particular chart, until now I told you that it shows your cars and other things. Actually what it shows is your Sukha. Fourth house is the house of Sukha. So it shows how comfortable you are. It does not show what car you have. Because somebody may have a cycle, a bicycle. He may be riding bicycle to work every day. He may be very happy. He may be very comfortable with his vehicle. And somebody may have 3 Mercedes-Benz cars and 3 BMW cars. He may still not be happy. He may be looking at, oh, I need Rolls-Royce, I need Jaguar, I need this, I need that. He may have something else in mind. He may be unhappy. He may not be enjoying those cars. So what car one has no bearing. It may have some bearing, but it's not conclusive when it comes to deciding how happy one is with vehicle. One's Vahana Sukha is different from one's Vahana. Vahana is something that materially manifests. You can see it. When you say somebody's Vahana, it is parked there in the parking lot. You can see it. On the other hand, when you say one's Vahana Sukha, it is not parked somewhere. It is parked within you. You can't really perceive it. Even that person may be confused. He may not know, he may not understand what exactly his happiness is. He may be confused. So, Vahana Sukha and Vahana are different things. Intelligence and trappings of intelligence are different. So, whenever you are talking about something that is materially seen, that manifests in a material form, so that people can see it, feel it and perceive it, that is invariably seen only in Arudha Padas. So that is the distinction between Arudha Padas and houses. Does anybody have something thick that I can put under this so that you can see the bottom also. I just want to elevate it. Is that better?
Yeah. Cool.
So for each house, in each divisional chart, there is something known as Arudha. So for each house, you take the fifth house, for example, in D24, that is your abilities. So the Arudha of that is what people use to judge your abilities. Things that are perceptible, using tangible things, using which people form an impression on your abilities. So your scores in examinations, how well you do, the recognition that you get. So all those things are from the Arudha of the fifth house. So I use a notation in the software. You will see all these, for example, A5, A2, A7, A9. So you see all these A followed by a number. And that is the notation I use in the software to represent it easily. Probably I don't need it, but thank you. So all these A something are Arudhas of that particular house. A9 is the Arudha of the ninth house. A5 is the Arudha of the fifth house, and so on. So even if you don't know how these are computed, you can use the software to find the Arudhas in various vargas. And now I will tell you how to actually calculate it. So if you take any particular house, I said that houses or rashis are inanimate. So that is basically, if you, for example, you take fifth house, that just shows one's ability. That ability is an inanimate thing that exists within you. It's not an animated thing. It's an inanimate circumstance that exists within you. That is your ability. And then the fifth lord, if you take the lord of that house, what does the lord show? Earlier I said, houses are inanimate circumstances, situations, and lords are people or consciousness. Each lord of a single house in your chart, it's not necessarily a different person. It can be a person also, but it's part of you, a part within you, which is thinking and acting. So planets are thinking and acting beings. They are the consciousness. So there is a particular consciousness within you that is making you apply that intelligence. The ability that you have within you is being applied by you to say something or to do something or to write an examination. So whatever you do, whenever you are applying that ability, the lord of that house is taking the resources of that house and he is converting them into some seeable activity, some tangible activity. So always houses are hidden things or circumstances, something that exists within you in an inanimate way, and the lord of the house is an animation of that. It's the consciousness, your own consciousness, taking that particular circumstance or situation and converting it into something. So the lord is, it's like, if for example you have a mirror, you may not be actually able to see me. Let's say you are looking only at the mirror. The world is looking only at the mirror. I'm sitting here. And then, suppose you see in the mirror, you will probably think that I'm somewhere there because of the reflection. You will see the reflection of me. So this is basically like that. The actual house, the fifth house for example, is like the real me, but you can't see it. And then the mirror, that is the consciousness relating to that particular activity. You are applying your intelligence to that particular house matter, and that is because of application of intelligence that manifests in a way that people can see. And that manifestation is like the image. In the mirror, when somebody is seeing, he will see an image, and that image is basically your scores in the examinations and so on. So that is the basic concept. So the way you find this is, you find, if you want to see where the image is going to be, you see where the person is and the distance to the mirror. And at the same distance from the mirror, you see the image. So you use the same principle. You take a particular house and you see where the lord is, because that is where the mirror is, that is where the actual activity is. Whatever that house represents, the intelligence is processing that particular thing and it is making it manifest in a particular way. You have a certain ability. And then application of that ability is making you write a particular exam and get a particular score. So the particular score is the mirror image. And the world will see that particular image and they will form an impression about your actual abilities. So the abilities is like the actual object, And the mirror is the analogy for the consciousness or the house lord. And what people see is the analogy for the Arudha. So the definition is, you see where the house is, see the distance from the house to the house lord. And then from the house lord, take the same distance. That will be the Arudha. So let's take an example here. In this chart, this is Lagna, right? Let us find the Arudha of the Lagna. Okay? So, house is here. Where is the Lord? Who is the Lord of this house? Sun. Where is he? 11th house. So from here, if you count houses 1, 2, 3, 4 and so on, actually it's easier to count backwards. So let me count backwards. This is 1, this is 12 and this is 11. So the Lord of the house is in the 11th house from the house. So to see the Arudha of that house, you have to take the 11th house from the Lord. So this Lord is the mirror. This is the actual Lagna, the personality of that person. And this is the mirror through which that personality manifests in a tangible way in the world. So the image will be here. Because you have to take the 11th house from Sun. So 12, 11. So the Arudha of the first house will be in Aries. And now, just a word on the notation I use in the software. I use AN for the nth house Arudha, but there are two exceptions. I use AL for Arudha Lagna. This is Arudha of Lagna. You may as well call it A1 because this is the Arudha of the first house. But I call it AL. That is a standard notation used in books, modern books. Of course, Parasara does not use any notation. He just calls it Arudha Lagnam. So this is, AL is Arudha Lagnam. And then another exception is, I say UL. I use the word UL for the Arudha of the 12th house. So that is another exception. For all others, it is basically A followed by the number of the house. So now, let's take another house. Let's take the 5th house. Can somebody tell me where is the Arudha of the 5th house, without looking for A5 symbol in the chart? This is the 5th house. Where is the Lord of it? Jupiter is the Lord. Where is he? He is in here. He is in the 9th house from there. If you count from here, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Jupiter is in the 9th house. So count the 9th house from Jupiter again. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So A5 is in Aries itself. Arudha Lagna as well as A5. Both are in Aries. And for A5 there are separate names given in the literature because 5th house shows your abilities as well as your, for example, your SS, Kirti, the following you have, the reputation you have. It is also called Kirtipada. And A5 also shows your mantra. When you do mantras, the process of worshipping, that is also seen in the 5th house. So A5 is also called Mantrapada. Mantrapada, Kirtipada, Yashahpada. The thing with Parashara is he does not stick to one word. If the 5th house shows a particular thing, for example, it shows children, Putra. So he calls it Putrapada. He comes up with new words everywhere. He does not stick to a particular word. Bottom line is, if nth house shows X, you can call the Pada, Arudha Pada of the nth house as X Pada. He calls it Kirtipada, he calls it Putrapada, he calls it Mantrapada. And similarly, if you take 3rd house, for example, what does 3rd house show? What does the 3rd house show? It shows your Parakrama, Vikrama, your boldness. Also it shows your initiation and drive. And what else? Your younger brother, siblings. So he calls it Bhratrupada. Bhratrupada or Anujapada and also Vikramapada, Parakramapada. So those are the names. There are so many different names. I will give a handout. In a couple of days I will send a detailed handout. In that I will give the names of various Arudha Padas. But as far as the class is concerned, let's just call it A5 because it's very easy to understand. Instead of calling it Mantrapada or Putrapada, I'll be just saying it A5, calling it as A5. So, there is one exception. Both Parashara and Jaini gave this exception. Unfortunately, some astrologers in India, they do not use this exception. There is a view that the exception is wrong. So some people do not use this exception. But both Parashara and Jaini talked about this exception. So even though astrologers like Sri K.N. Rao ignore this exception, this is actually a valid exception. The exception is, when you find the Arudha Pada, of a particular house. If the Arudha Pada falls within the same house or the seventh from it, the seventh means if you take any house, there is an axis. For example, you take Lagna here. The axis is Lagna, this and this. This is first and seventh house. This axis is where Narayana lives. The house itself is where Brahma lives, that is the Brahmasthana, and the seventh, the desire, Vivahasthana, that is Shivasthana. And Narayana lives in the stronger of Brahma and Shiva. So first house is Brahmasthana, seventh house is Shivasthana, and the stronger of those is Narayanasthana. So both the first house and seventh house are important in seeing the attitude of a person. When you are looking at, pardon me? Stronger of first and seventh. That is where Narayana lives. He is either with Brahma or with Shiva.
Stronger in that horoscope, right?
In that horoscope.
Very quick question. What's the root of this first house is Brahmasthana and seventh house is Shivasthana? How?
Why that is so? Because first house is the house of your very existence, your creation. So Brahma is the God who creates. He is responsible for the existence. So because first house shows your very existence, Brahma is the God who rules over the first house. And then seventh house is the house of desire. Desire, and also it is the house of marriage. So Shiva, he gives you all your desires. He is the God who gives desires, as well as who gives marriage and happiness, marital happiness. So seventh house is the house of desires and the marital life. The seventh house is seen to be Shivasthana. So whenever Jaimini talked about a particular house, he always talked about either that house or the seventh from it. So always you should see the seventh from a particular house to see that particular house, because from that house, all the planets in that house aspect this house. Because that is the desire. This is your existence and that is your desire. Both are very strongly linked. One person's existence may be driven more by desire. Another person's existence may be more driven by what he is. So both are very important, the first house and seventh house. So the rule is, when you find the Arudha of a particular house, if the Arudha falls in the first house or the seventh from that house, then that is invalid. It cannot be. In other words, first house and the seventh house are the Satya, the truth, the unseen, intangible truth, the inherent truth. And the Arudha is not the truth. It is the illusion. When I say somebody is marks, I said fifth house shows one's abilities, that is Satya. The ability that is really within you is the Satya. It is the truth. On the other hand, the marks that you get, the scores you get, the awards you get, the prizes you get, all these are Maya. This is illusion. You think that this reflects on one's abilities, but this is Maya. So because of that, that is said to be Maya. And when I say Maya, don't think that it is less important. We are living in the world of Maya. This whole world is Maya. So actually Maya is the more important thing than Satya. So don't think that Maya is less important, but the bottom line is it is Maya. Satya is something else. And the basic principle that Parashara used is Satya and Maya. Excuse me.
Sorry to disturb you, but I just happen to be interested in the subject
Yeah.
that is why, but
Okay.
I just saw something that anybody can attend.
Yes, it is a class anybody can attend. You are most welcome to attend. It is every Sunday from 9 o'clock to 11 o'clock. And all the audio MP3 files of the previous classes as well as the handouts are in a particular website. Yeah, I will actually write it down here. So you did a good thing by bringing the board. Vedic Astro at home, not Comcast, not net. Not Comcast.net.
There's any prerequisites?
Pardon me?
Are there any prerequisites for
If you know some astrology, it will be helpful. Otherwise, if you listen to the MP3 file, you will get the background. I started from the basics.
Okay. How many classes are you offering?
7 hours. Yeah.
Thank you. Is there a registration procedure?
No, there is no procedure. Just come at 9 o'clock.
Okay.
Sure.
Try next time.
Okay.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Sorry to disturb.
No problem. Okay, so where are we?
Arudha,
Yeah. So Arudha of a particular house cannot be in the same house or the seventh summit, because the house and the seventh summit are the satya relating to that particular activity, relating to that particular house matter, and the Maya is always divorced from the satya. Maya and satya are never the same. That is the basic principle of this creation. So
not be or it will not be.
it cannot be. So, but it can be based on where the Lord is. When you apply the principle that I said, it is possible. So in that case, you cannot see it. For example, in other words, if somebody is behind the mirror or if somebody is just on the mirror, then the mirror image that you see, there is a distortion there. You will not be able to see it. If I am standing here exactly opposite the mirror, somebody who is behind me, he will not be able to see me, because I will be blocking the mirror image. If I am sitting here, if there is a mirror, and you can go there and see me. But if I am sitting here and you are standing behind me, you will not be able to see me. That is the basic principle. The analogy is tough to give, but that is the analogy. You will not be able to see the person. If I am here, you are there, you can see me. If I move here, you can come there and see me. So that is where the Maya is. If I move a little bit here, you come and you can see me. But if I am exactly in front of the mirror, you will not be able to see me, because you will see my back, or my real back. But our assumption is you can't see the real me. You will only be able to see the mirror image. So I'll be blocking the mirror image. Similarly, if I'm behind the mirror, then you can't see. So that's the basic principle. And then the exception that Parashara gave is, you take the 10th house from the Arudha. If you find the Arudha in the house itself or the 7th from there, take the 10th house from where you found, that will be the Arudha. So if the object and mirror are placed in such a way that you can't see the mirror image, you basically don't have a way to judge that particular thing. You don't have a tangible thing through which you can judge that. Then what you do is, based on the karma, you try to judge it, based on the karma of that particular image. So you take the 10th house there from. We'll see an example, then it will be clear. It will be confusing when I put it in words. Yes. 10th house from where you found the Arudha to be. That is why I said, when we see the example, it will be crystal clear.
So basically, for any house, if the lord of that house is 7th from it, or is in his own house, then...
Or 4th or 10th. We'll see examples here. So here, let's take the 12th house. Let's take the 12th house. Who is the lord of this 12th house, Cancer? Moon. Where is he? Here. So from here, let me count backwards. Actually, we are supposed to count forward, but I may as well count backwards. It will be easier. So from here, 12, 11, 10. So moon is in the 10th house. From the house, its lord is in the 10th house. So what you do is, from the lord you count 10 houses again. So from here, 12, 11, 10. So this is where UL, excuse me, UL or the Arudha of the 12th house has to be. But the software doesn't show it here. Why?
7th house.
Yes. This is the 7th house from the original house. The Arudha of a particular house can never be in the house itself or the 7th from there. So this axis is ruled out for the Arudha. So it cannot be here. So where should it be? In the 10th there from. So from here if you count, and the 10th is irrespective of your original count, whether it was 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Here it so happened that the count from Cancer to Moon was also 10. But that has nothing to do with this. Because it is in the 7th house, now we apply the exception. So from here if you count 10, 12, 11, 10. So this is where the UL is shown by the software. And UL, like I said, is A12 basically. A12 is shown as UL. Yes.
A1, A2, A3.
Any Arudha. So let us see another example, assuming I have it. Yes. Let's take the 10th house Arudha. Karma Pada. Let us take the Karma Pada or Karma Arudha. It is also called Karma Arudha, which means Arudha of Karma Sthana, of 10th house. So in other words, A10. So where is the 10th house from here? 12, 11, 10. So Taurus is the 10th house. So where is the lord of that house? He is in the same house. So he is in the first house basically. From the house, lord is in the first house. So Arudha will be again in the first house from the lord, which will be that house again. Counting from the house to lord, you get 1. And counting from lord to 1, you get the same house. So Arudha of 10, A10 will be in Taurus itself. But is it allowed? No. Now the exception will kick in. So where should it be? You have to count 10 houses from there, 10th house. So 12, 11, 10. So A10 will be in Aquarius, Kumbha Rasi. So this is how you find Arudha. The only tricky thing is very easy. You can manually also very quickly do it. But software can help you. But there is one tricky thing. The tricky thing is, in the case of Aquarius and Scorpio, let me, for example, take Scorpio. Or actually, let me take Aquarius. If you take Aquarius, Aquarius is which house? What is Aquarius? Saturn's house, okay. It is the first house or second house or which house? Seventh house. Right? So we want to find A7. So to find A7, what do? We see from here where the Lord is. Where is Saturn? Here. So from here he is in 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So from Saturn we find 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. But the software doesn't show A7 there. Why? Does anybody know why? Anybody other than Kiran or Palani? Software does not show A7 in Tula. That means it's not taking Shani to be the Lord of Aquarius. Is there any other Lord? Yes, Rahu. You have to remember that for Aquarius, don't think that it's always Shani's house. Rahu also wants that house. And also for Scorpio, Mars is not the only Lord. Ketu also owns it. Lot of people forget Rahu and Ketu's ownerships. But Parashara very clearly said that they own those houses. So, when Rahu and Ketu are stronger than Shani and Mars, you have to take them for finding the Arudha. And I will not say why Rahu is stronger in this particular house instead of Shani, but Rahu is stronger. Let us not wonder why. Let's ignore it for now. But Rahu is stronger in this particular case. So, if you take Rahu as the Lord of Kumbha, where is he? Which house? 1, 2, 3. So, count 3 from Rahu. 1, 2, 3. So, where is A7? In Gemini, in Mithuna. That is why software shows it here. So, you have to, the only tricky thing is for Kumbha and Vrishika, you have to take Rahu and Ketu also when they are stronger. And now I know, even when, suppose Rahu is weak, or suppose Shani is weak, Rahu is stronger. So you found the Arudha based on Rahu. But there is another Arudha based on Shani. That will also manifest. That means as far as that particular house is concerned, there is a multiple image. There is a, it's like, if it is Arudha Lagna, it can be a split personality. Because Arudha Lagna is somebody's, what is Lagna? Somebody's very existence. And Arudha Lagna is somebody's very, how people perceive somebody's very existence. That means somebody's image. Arudha Lagna shows what a person's image is, how people see him. Whether people see him as an aggressive person, or a very saintly person, or an intelligent person, how people look at somebody. An enterprising person, a very funny person, how people see you. That is not from Lagna. That is from Arudha Lagna. Who you are is from Lagna. Who people think you are is from Arudha Lagna. So, in the case of Arudha Lagna, suppose somebody's Lagna is in Kumbha or Vrishtika, then there will be two Arudhas. One based on Shani, one based on Rahu. Or one based on Mars, one based on Ketu. One of them will dominate. But the other one, it doesn't mean that the other one doesn't exist. So, those people will have two images. Some people have a particular image, or some other people have another image, or they have one image for one part of life and another image during another part of life. But those people do have multiple images. They probably engage in different kinds of activities. They have different lives. Maybe they move in different parts of the society and they have different images. But the bottom line is, what I want you to remember is, always take the stronger Arudha to judge that particular Arudha. But the weak Arudha will also manifest. When will it manifest? During which dacha will weak Arudha manifest? In other words, that particular image comes to that person. When planets influencing that Arudha come. If a particular planet has Agala on that Arudha, and a weak Arudha, when that particular planet's dasha or antardasha comes, in other words, periods come in life, then that image will dominate, even though it is a weaker image. So like this, when we see dashas, it will become more clear, but both the images will persist. Okay, let's take just one more example. Where is the Bhatrapada of this person? Which Rashi? Somebody walk me through the calculation. What do you do for that first? What is Bhatrapada? Translate it into our terms. Yeah, so A3. We want A3. So first third house. Which is third house? Tula. 1, 2, 3. So this is the third house. Where is the Lord? Venus. Where is Venus from here? See, from here this is 7th house, right? The opposite house is 7. So this is the next one, 8. So Venus is in the 8th house. So we have to take the 8 from Venus. So from here, 8 will be, first take the 7th. From here this is 7th house, 8 will be next one. So Sagittarius. So Sagittarius has Vikramapada A3. And now, does any exception apply? Is this house in the first or 7th from the original house? Tula that we took? No. It's not on the axis. So this is valid. No exception. So A3 is in Dhanus or Sagittarius. So this is how you find the Arudha. And you can find them in any particular chart, any divisional chart that you want. And can somebody tell me what A4 in D16 show? A4 in D16. Yeah. So fourth house shows Vahana Sukha and in general comfort and discomfort. That is what fourth house shows. Now what does A4 show? The tangible things through which we judge somebody's Vahana Sukha. So what is it? Vahana. Yeah, the vehicle that you possess. Or it could also be the TV, the refrigerator, other items of luxury that you have. But these have to be tangible things, real things. So A4 will show you what kind of car one has or what kind of vehicle one has. Suppose somebody's A4 has, let's say, Venus in it, Jupiter and Venus, very benefic planets. Suppose somebody's A4 has Jupiter and Venus, and fourth house has, let us say, Shani. What do you say about his Vahanas?
He himself is never
Enjoying it. So A4 having Jupiter and Venus means he has nice vehicles, beautiful vehicles, expensive vehicles. But is he happy with the vehicle? Shani is in the fourth house. So Sukhasthana has Shani, Vahana Sukhasthana has Shani, and Vahana has Guru Shukra. So good Vahana, but no Vahana Sukha. On the other hand, let us say somebody's A4 has Shani. What does it mean? The Vahana, A4 is Vahana itself. So Vahana has Shani. That means not a good vehicle. He has a very bad vehicle. Maybe a small scooter, if he's India, or a bicycle or something. Or maybe not even a vehicle.
There's also show the color of the vehicle you have written on the side.
Yes, you can show the colors also. Yes. Now, okay. A4 has Shani. And let's say fourth house has Shukra. And Ucha Shukra, let us say. Exalted Venus in the fourth house. Will he be very happy with his vehicle? Yes. That person will be very happy with the vehicle. So like this, you can see the difference between house and the Arudha of the house. Both are two different things. They are not same. They are totally different. And similarly, if you see somebody's fifth house, suppose somebody's D24. Let us say somebody's D24 has Jupiter in the fifth house. Jupiter is the planet for Dhishakti. He is in the fifth house of intelligence, fifth house of ability in D24, the chart of learning. So will you say that that person is intelligent? Yes. Yeah, intelligent. I didn't say is he thought to be intelligent by people. I didn't say that. Is he intelligent? He is very intelligent by nature. Now, do people think that he is intelligent? For that, look at A5. So let us say A5 has Shani in it. Then do people think that he is intelligent? No. Somehow, he is intelligent, but he never knows how to write good examinations, how to give exams. He doesn't know how to convert that intelligence into something that people can see. The intelligence is there, but he doesn't know how to use that intelligence in a tangible way, how to make it manifest in a tangible way. So this is if you understand this basic concept, this is just another parameter. Just like you look at fifth house, now you will start looking at A5. You see who aspect it, who has Argala on it, and then based on it you can make predictions. So all other things are exactly the same. How you analyze that particular thing, what influences planets have, all those things are very similar. The only thing you have to understand is the exact distinction between house and the Arudha of the house. If you understand it, then you mastered this concept. Yes, Yashodhara.
When you take the planet, you see all the aspects, everything on the original house or the original planet. On the original house.
You can see on the original house. You can see the Graha Drishti, Rashi Drishti and Argala of various planets on a particular house, like we did in the other examples. And based on it, you can judge that particular house. And now, you can repeat the same exercise, taking the Arudha of the house instead of house. And what does that show? That shows a different thing. In the case of fifth house, for example, one shows intelligence, real intelligence of the person. The other one shows the perceived intelligence of the person. The marks of intelligence like scores, awards, prizes, etc. So let's take another example.
So we have to take both.
You have to see both.
So Narasimha,
But if you are interested in only one thing, you see only one of them. Based on what the person wants to know, you have to understand which is more important. But in practice, you will end up seeing both of them because both have a different role. They are not alternatives. Each has its own purpose. They are two different things. Yes, Prashant.
so for example, if a person comes to me and say asks about this, when will I get a job or something? Then because this is the world of Maya,
Yeah.
everyone is going to tell me
That is more important, yes.
whether
If somebody wants to know when he will get a job, how do you see one's job? 10th house is the karma he does. But that is the activity, the actions he is doing, which are imperceptible, which are basically abstract concepts. When you say somebody's action, that's an abstract concept. But if you say, principal software engineer at so-and-so company, at Microsoft, for example, that is a tangible thing. That is an arudha. That is a risen one in the material world. When you say principal software engineer at Microsoft Corporation, it is something that you can perceive, you can feel it, you know what it means. But when you say somebody is writing good software, what does it mean? Somebody is writing intelligent software, what does it mean? You don't really know. It's an abstract concept. You can't put it on paper or you can't put it on a table or on a floor. You can't really see it. But that particular job one has, there is an offer letter and there is a name tag. Everything is there. There is a visiting card. So that particular thing is very, not abstract. It is a very real thing. It is a very tangible thing. The other thing may also be real, but it's abstract. You can't feel it. So the 10th house shows the karma that one is doing. The 8th shows the actual job. So that is far more important if you want to see when one gets job. Yes, Palni?
Like 8 10 will always be in one house,
Yeah.
right? So your job will be keep on changing. So
Yeah.
how do you know that's going to take?
Right. Even 10th house is in one house, right? Whatever criticism you make of 8 10 applies to 10th house. 10th house is also in one house. But one's job may change. The thing is, you don't look at just a sign that contains 8 10. You look at the planet who owns it, planets who occupy it, planets who are having Argala on it, planets who are having Grahadrishti on it. So based on which dasha, for example, somebody is 8 10 may be having the Argala of Shani and Mercury. So when Shani is dominating in his life, Shani's influence may dominate. So he may be in a job where he has to work hard. He may be doing routine stuff. On the other hand, he may be driving a car or something, for example, during that time. He may be a truck driver. And then there may be Argala of Sun, for example, on 8 10. And when Sun's Dasha comes, or Sun's Antardasha comes, he may suddenly become a political leader. He may be a union leader. So similarly, Mercury may be having Argala. And then he may decide, oh, driving a truck is bad. I want to become software engineer. He may take a course, a 1-year course in software. He may come to US and may become a software engineer.
But the basic house is very important, right?
The basic house is very important. The house and the house lord, they are very important. And similarly, Arudha itself is very important. Suppose somebody is 8 10 is in Aries. That person will be typically, most of the time, he is involved in high tech because Aries is a very aggressive sign, it's a fiery sign, Agni Rashi, and Mars, the planet of enterprise and technology, owns that house. So that person will be typically working in jobs where there is high tech. Suppose somebody is let us say in Sagittarius. Sagittarius, what kind of house is it? It is the Dharmasthana of the natural zodiac, and it is also Agni Rashi. So he may be working in courts or places where Dharma is upheld, legislatures, this kind of things. So depending on the Rashi itself, you can say something about the circumstances, the situation, the surroundings of his job. But the actual job he is doing is depending on the planets that influence daytime.
So, Narasimhaji, for example, you look at a job which is considered, like, for example, a janitor. Now, he's perceived as something which is a lowly job in the eyes of this world.
Yeah.
So, is it that then A10 and his D10 would be afflicted somehow?
Yes, yes.
Oh, perfect.
If A10 has Shani, that means he is doing very Shani-like work. And also depending on what Amsha Shani is in. Is he in Indra Amsha? Is he in Nirati Samsha? Depending on that, you can say more things. But based on Shani being in A10, you say it's a lowly job. But let us say 10th house, the actual 10th house in D10, not A10. The 10th house, let us say, has Guru in it.
He's very happy with
He is happy with his work. He may be guiding all the fellow janitors. The actual karma that he is doing is more Jupiter-like. But as far as the world is concerned, he is a janitor. So what the world thinks based on the perceptible things, the tangible things that the world can see are from A10. And there is actually another aspect. There are three aspects. House from Lagna, Arudha of the house, and the third is house from Arudha Lagna. We said, I will talk about that also. I said that Arudha Lagna is your perceived self. The real Lagna is your real self, your true self. But Arudha Lagna is your perceived self. What people think you are. The image you have in people's minds. The image people have in their minds about you. Now, if you take the 10th house from that image, that shows what people are imagining about your karma. 10th house from AL. Because AL is your image, 10th house from AL is the karma of that image. So your image is doing a karma. You are not doing the karma. But the image of you in people's minds, that image is doing a karma. So in the example you said, the more than A10, the 10th from Arudha is likely to have Shani. If somebody is a janitor, people think, oh, he is doing dirty work. So the image people have of that person in their mind, that image is doing dirty things. So Shani will be in the 10th from Arudha Lagna. On the other hand, A10 will show what kind of job he is doing and also what kind of surroundings in which he is doing that job. So this person, he may have all his relatives in India, he may come to US and he may be a janitor in a very sophisticated place, a very sophisticated company or a nice airport. He may be a janitor there. So A10 may have influences that show that the job is in a very, very hep surrounding. So A10 will show the surroundings of your job, and 10th from Arudha will show what image people have of the work you are doing. So Shani may be there, making people think that you are doing a dirty job, a very lowly job. But irrespective of both these things, A10 and 10th from AL, the 10th from Lagna is actually the karma that you are doing. So even if one is janitor, one may be always happy, one may be always nice to people, and he may be enjoying that work. In that case, maybe moon is in the 10th from Lagna. So he is just having fun. He is just having a blast. So maybe moon is in the 10th from Lagna of that person. But people's image is that of a dirty janitor.
So now when looking at such a specific scenario, we also, one is the D10, we do all this processing in D10, but then we look at the Rashi chart also.
Yeah.
How does the Arudas of Rashi chart and the 10th house of Rashi chart and all these, I know that job is a very specific thing and you have to look at D10.
Yeah.
But then while making a prediction, where does these things fall into picture?
Right.
Right.
What I advise you is Rashi and the Amsha. The distinction between them is Dashamsha. The Dashamsha is the environment of work. So whether one is a janitor, whether one is working in an airport or at a high-tech company, whether one is a janitor or writing code, all these are things that define the environment where you are doing your work. Rashi chart is just physical existence. It's just your physical existence. It shows your body and what body parts are doing. So when you're talking about the work that somebody, in the case of a janitor, he is handling lot of dirt. The physical karma that he is doing, physically, he is handling lot of dirt. On the other hand, if you take a software engineer, physically he may be just typing. So the physical work that one is doing is from the 10th house in Rashi chart. But the actual karma that one is doing is from the Dashamsha only. So my advice is, instead of getting confused at this stage, ignore Rashi for all these purposes. Varga is far more important. And you have to remember another thing. Rashi also shows the body parts. Various parts of your body are also shown by Rashi. And when you say the liver, or when you say somebody's face, all these things are tangible things. So arudhas, various arudhas in Rashi chart, they also show various body parts. Not just one's vehicles, etc. If you want to see somebody's vehicle, Rashi is a bad chart to look at. Even though, now let me make another thing clear. When you say somebody's car, somebody's marks, or somebody's trophy that one won, a sportsman, he may win a trophy, he may be Wimbledon champion. So the trophy, the car, all these things, they are physical things. So you have to remember that even though Rashi chart is the chart of physical existence and other vargas show non-physical environmental influences, the arudhas in various vargas, they are still physical. All the arudhas in all the vargas are always physical. The only thing is, those physical things, like for example a trophy, even though trophy is a physical thing, it is showing some tangible manifestation of your ability. And ability in what? The ability may be in writing something. Somebody may be a script writer. He may write script for a movie, and then he may win Filmfare Award for the best screenplay that year, and he may get a trophy. So the trophy is a physical thing. But why did he get that trophy? As a measure of his ability of writing scripts. And what is that ability? It is not related to something physical. It is related to an environment, a working environment. So Dashamsha shows that working environment, and Rashi shows your physical existence. So this script writing ability that we talked about, that is relating to the environment in which one performs one's work. So in this case, all the houses in Vargas, they show things that are not physical. They throw light on some aspects of the environment in which you are operating. For example, working environment, learning environment, parental environment, all these dharmic environment. So all these environments are seen in various Vargas. And houses show some aspects of those environments. But the arudha is again how that particular aspect of that environment manifests in a physical way, in a tangible way. So arudhas are always physical. So even though A4, vahana, vehicle, car, is a physical thing, you don't see it in Rashi chart. Because it is a measure of your vahana sukha, which is not physical. Vahana is physical, but vahana sukha is abstract. It is an abstract thing that has to do with the environment of comfort. The comfort, the sukha environment, the environment in which you lead your physical existence, which controls your sukha. The environment which defines your sukha. In that environment, this vahana is a measure of something in that environment. So it is related to D16 only, even though it is a physical thing. Is that clear? Yes, Kiran.
So Dashamsha is the environment, where
the working environment.
Working environment, yeah. So what is the lagna?
And by environment, I don't just mean surroundings, physical surroundings. For example, you are thinking of something, you are imagining something. All those are environments as far as your existence is concerned.
So in Dashamsha, what is the lagna show and what is the arudha lagna show then?
Yeah. Okay. Now, what does lagna show? Lagna is, like I said, your very existence. So in Rashi chart, the chart of physical existence, it is your very physical existence. The physical concept of you. That is Lagna in Rashi chart. Now in Dashamsa, what does Dashamsa show? It shows your karma, the working environment. So it shows you from the point of view of career and work. So it is your true self from the point of view of karma. That may not be your physical body. That may be, for example, you may be an intelligent person, an inquisitive person. That may be you. The you in the working environment may be an inquisitive person or a dharmic person. So that persona in the work, that is seen by Lagna. But that is again internal, abstract. That is not real. The real image that people have of you at your workplace is Aruha Lagna. If you see Aruha Lagna in Dashamsa, that is what kind of image people have of you as far as work is concerned. So they may, it's not again physical image. It's only on account of your work. On account of what you do at your workplace or in society, people have a particular image of you. See, for example, I'll take an example. Let me take my own chart. The birth data is April 4, 1970, 5:47:13 p.m. IST, 81 East 8, 16 North 10, Machilipatnam, India. So if you see my Dashamsa, I will open my Dashamsa. This is my Dashamsa chart. So if you look at this Dashamsa, where is Lagna? Lagna is here in Virgo, Kanya. Who owns Kanya? Mercury. Mercury owns Kanya. And what kind of a sign is Kanya? Because it is owned by Mercury, it is a sign of intelligence, analytical ability. That is what Mercury is good at. And especially Kanya. Kanya means a virgin. So Kanya compared to Gemini, even though Mercury owns both the signs, Kanya is a sign of chastity, of some purity, because the name itself suggests it. So this is Kanya is a sign of chastity as well as intelligence and analytical ability. So as far as my work is concerned, my real self, which people cannot perceive, my real self is an intelligent person, an analytical, very overtly analytical person, because Virgo is overtly analytical, very overly analytical person, and also some kind of chastity. So that is my true self. But what do people see when people are looking at my work? What is the image that people have? It is this. This is the image that people have. So what is that image?
Mathematician and a guru kind of
Very knowledgeable.
leader kind of.
Yes. Jupiter is basically a dharmic, intelligent, dharmic person, and Ketu is a spiritual person. So because of Jupiter and Ketu in Aruha Lagna, even though I don't speak about religion in my workplace, people basically have some kind of respectful image. He is somebody very principled. That is the kind of image that people have. So like this, but am I really principled and spiritual, etc.? Maybe not. That is the image that I project based on the work, based on the way I am working. But my real self is just somebody who wants to understand, because Virgo is intelligence. So I just want to understand, I just want to learn, I just want to appreciate more. That is my the real nature. But the nature that people perceive is Jupiter and Ketu. And actually there is another, this is something that I was not explicitly taught by my gurus, but this is something that I found in my experience, so I will just mention it. In the case of Parivartana, we said that when two planets are in exchange, we said that, for example, here see, Mercury and Venus, do they have a Parivartana? Yes. The ninth Lord Venus is in 10th house. The 10th Lord Mercury is in 9th house. So they are exchanging their houses. So because of that, practically, Mercury acts as if he is here. Venus basically acts like Mercury. So in other words, when you analyze this chart, you can place Mercury here instead of Venus. And you can place Venus here instead of Mercury. So that is basically how you analyze the chart, right? That is how you know that I am a software engineer. If you look at the 10th house from Lagna, my Lagna, if Venus is there, it doesn't make sense. I don't do Venusian work. I do Mercurian work. I do software, I do mathematical stuff, I do algorithms, I do analysis. So Mercury there makes more sense. I don't know if you remember, but in the last class we talked about a teacher, I think Amartya Sen, a professor, and we saw that Sun and Mars were in the 10th house. We did not know why he was a teacher, but when we see the Parivartana, practically Jupiter was in Meena, in the 10th house. So we explained, oh, he's a teacher. So similarly here, because of the Parivartana, Mercury is in the 10th house. So because of that, I am a software engineer. Yes, Prashant?
So Mercury tells that you do intellectual work and everything. But
Yeah,
then,
that is my true self.
But then A10 tells you that you are into engineering.
Right.
Because A10 is an 80s, which is...
Right. Now, let me make one thing, one point based on my experience, not based on what I was taught. Even though my gurus did not object to this thought, they did not explicitly tell me this. My experience is, in the case where there is Parivartana, you can find another Arudhpada, apart from what the software finds for you. You can find another Arudhpada taking Mercury, not in Taurus, but in Gemini. The software is taking, this is Lagna, Mercury is here, so he is in the 9th house. He is taking the 9th therefrom and putting Arudhpada in Capricorn. That image is also there. But what is more important is, put Mercury here. Because of Parivartana, he gives results as if he is there. So put Mercury in Gemini. And then, from Lagna, where is Mercury? In the 1, 12, 11, 10. 10th house. So if you count backwards, 12, 11, 10. It is in Pisces. Is that right, or do we have to apply exception? We found the Arudha of Kanya. It fell in Meena. Is it possible? No. First and 7th house, the house itself or the 7th from there, they are ruled out for Arudha. So we take the 10th therefrom. So from Meena we take 10. So 12, 11, 10. So Sagittarius with Mars in it is me. That is the image. So Sagittarius is Dharmic. And it is a fiery sign, Agni Rasi. Mars, another fiery planet is there, an enterprising planet. So the image people have is, one of the images that people have of me is a Dharmic person, but very harsh, very rash, very forceful. So that is an image, that is another image that I project to the world based on my karma. Whether it's at workplace or by teaching astrology or by participating in activities in Yahoo groups, for example, Vedic astrology Yahoo groups. If you ask 100 people, probably 60 people will tell you that I am very harsh, very forceful. That is because of Mars and Sagittarius, both the houses. So that is another image. Is that the real me? No. My real me is Kanya. I'm happy to just understand, learn. But that is the image that I project based on the activities that I do. So my advice to you would be, in the case where there is a Parivartana, change the planet to the other house and find Arudha. You will get better results. But the other Arudha will also work. There will be multiple images. One image I have is of a very spiritual and religious person, very learned person. Another image I have is very forceful. Somebody who upholds Dharma, but in a very forceful and blunt way, not very compassionate about that.
So would those gods would also tell us, the devas associated with your 10th house would also, like for example, when we looked at those like Indra, Brahma,
Yeah?
Devi, and all that.
Yes.
Yeah, how does that?
Absolutely. For example, take here. Okay. Say, take here. Take the 10th house. Take the 10th Lord, Mercury. Okay. What is the Amsha of Mercury? Who is the Lord? Who is the deity controlling Mercury? Agni, the fire god. So there is too much of fire. But in any case, to remember what we said in the last class, Agni is transformation, creating new things. I said it is engineering. Agni shows, because engineering came from ignis, which means fire. It came from the word fire. And also engineers create new things. They transform something into something else. So engineering is shown by Agni. And I also said legislation, etc. are also shown by Agni. So here, the planet is Mercury, the planet of analysis, intelligence, It could also be trading. Mercury also shows trading. It can be trading, it can be journalism, writing, it can be engineering, especially software engineering, computers. And in this case, because he is an Agni Samsha, I ended up being an engineer. If you don't see Agni, I may as well have been a writer, a journalist. That is also possible. I had those instincts from childhood, but I just became an engineer because Agni is the deity ruling Mercury.
So, Narasimha, I have a question.
Yes.
Say, for example, when looking at a chart, if a person thinks that, okay, internally, his self and everything is extremely good.
There's nothing called good and bad. You have to remember that.
Yeah.
There's nothing called good and bad.
No, but one more thing
It's just
is like,
a nature.
if a person wants to change the image that
Yeah.
world perceives of his
Yeah.
self,
Yeah.
what, like for example, in detail,
What should we
if
do?
name is afflicted or whatever,
Yeah.
then what can one do to modify that image? Are there some remedies or something or mantras to do that? Or?
Yeah, that's a good question. The standard remedy that is given for weak arudhas is arudhas are, like I said, physical things. And I said out of the panchangas, I said, I don't know if I said it earlier, but out of the panchangas, Vara, it shows physical, it is the physical vitality. Vara shows the physical vitality. And Karna shows work and so on. So, because arudhas are physical things, you take Vara. Vara is important. So, you take the Vara of the Arudha Lord. Suppose somebody's Arudha Lagna is in Vrishchika. Who is the Lord of Vrishchika? Mars. And what is the Vara of Mars? Tuesday. So what you have to do is, whatever you do, it has to be on Tuesday. And the other thing is, because this is a physical thing, you can propitiate, you can do the remedy by suffering physically, not just by reading a mantra. Because arudhas are physical things, the right remedy is physical suffering. So upvasa or fasting is recommended. So take the Lord of the arudha, take that vara, that weekday, and fast on that day, from sunrise to sunset. And then at the end of the fasting, you can take bath, do a small prayer to a god, and then break the fast. And another important thing for arudhas is, the second house from arudhas is very important, because that is what sustains it. Second house is the house of resources, food that we talked about earlier, right? Second house is the house of resources and food. And in the case of arudha, that food is very important. More than the dharma of the arudha, arudha is an image. As far as image is concerned, it is more concerned about the food that it gets than the dharma that it has. Image is so food oriented, it wants to become fatter and fatter. Whether it is image of your intelligence or image of your very existence, whatever image, that image wants lot of food and it wants to become fat. Image is very selfish. The world of Maya has different rules than the world of Satya. In the world of Satya, dharma is very important, karma is very important. But in the world of Maya, food is very important, the resource is very important, because Maya wants to get fatter and fatter, even at the expense of other people's Maya. So, as far as arudhas are concerned, second house is very important. So, you should propitiate the god shown by the second lord. Take the arudha, take the second lord from there, propitiate that lord, and fast on the day of the arudha itself. So, let me take an example. Let us take an example. Let us take my chart. Okay? Let us say Dashamsha. Let us take Dashamsha. Let's take A5. Let's say A5 is afflicted. Actually here A5 is not afflicted. But let me say A5 is afflicted. And I want to strengthen my A5. So where is my Dashamsha A5? Taurus. So who is the Vara Lord? Weekday Lord of Taurus? Friday. Venus is the Lord and Friday. So I have to fast on Fridays. And then at the end of the fasting, the god that I have to pray to is seen from the second from there. From A5, see the second house. Who is the Lord of that house? Mercury. So I have to pray to Mercury or gods shown by Mercury. Who are the gods shown by Mercury? Vishnu. No. That is the god who rules the karma of Mercury in this particular chart. But the lords of Mercury are Vishnu or Narayana. When you do Satyanarayan Vratam, if you remember, when you put Mercury in the Ishanya Bhaga in a Banakar Mandala, you have Adhyavata and Pratyadevata in Dakshina and Uttara, in south and north of Mercury, and they are Vishnu and Narayana. So for Mercury, the god is Vishnu. So if I fast on Friday and pray to Vishnu and pray to him that I should be recognized in my career, that will lead to better recognition in career.
Fasting is the only way to suffer. Or
There may be other ways, but what I am taught is fasting for Arudha. On the other hand, if you want to increase the strength of a house itself, then it's not fasting. You can just do various pujas to various gods. But for Arudhas, I was told that fasting is the only way.
Yes, food is important.
Pardon me?
Yes,
Yeah.
food is important, but
Yeah.
having that food.
Yeah. You have a question? You look like you have a question. Yes.
A quick one. The way mantra.
Let me just stop it and then. What is your question?
So the way mantras work, that there is a source house and there is a destination house.
Yeah.
Are mantras ever recommended for modifying the Arudha Padartha as well? Like, say, making destination as one of the...
Yeah, I'm not aware of it. Yeah, it's a good idea for thinking, but I'm not aware of it. Okay, so is everybody clear on what Arudhas are? How they should be used?
I have a question.
Yes.
Now,
Yeah.
Arudha for a fifth house. Is the fifth house from the fifth house? Is that like your thought? In other words, how do I say it? If the Lord of Lagna here is the 10th, which is Sun,
Yeah.
the 10th house. So Arudha from that is the 10th house from the 10th house. correct?
Right.
Oh, okay.
Right.
So it's the same thing, like it's the 4th house from the 4th house and 5th house from the
Yeah.
Okay.
But the thing is not exactly if you are taking 10th house and the Lord is, let's say, from the 10th house, he's in the second house, for example. So you take the second from him.
10 from him. Okay.
Yeah. So you take where the house is, where the Lord is, see the distance, and from the Lord take the same distance.
Oh, okay.
So to remember the analogy I gave, the house is like an object that you are trying to see in the mirror. And the Lord is like the mirror. Because Lord is the consciousness through which that, whatever that house stands for, that house is converted into some activity by the consciousness of that activity. And then the image is the Arudha. So if I am at this angle from the mirror, the image will be at the same angle in the other direction. Okay. Now, let us take my third house. If you take the third house, where is the Arudha of the third house? Can somebody tell me where is the Arudha of the third house? Third house is 1, 2, 3, Scorpio. Who are the lords? Mars and Ketu. Mars and Ketu are the lords. So, who is stronger? If you have to make a guess, who is with more planets? The first rule of strength is, whoever is with more planets is stronger. Mars is alone, but Jupiter is Ketu. So Ketu is stronger. So Ketu is from this house, Ketu is in 1, 2, 3, third house. So from Ketu now take the third house, 1, 2, 3. So Pisces. So my A3 is in Pisces. One of the meanings of third house is, we said that the third house is the house of drive, initiative. But also, it is the house of communication skills. Especially in the chart of karma, it shows communication. Because if you want to do some karma in society, the ability to communicate, that is the basic thing that you need. That is the basic, that is your drive. That initiates your karma. So third house is the house of journalism. It is the house of writing, of communication skills. So, my communication skills are something that are buried inside me. You can't see them. How can you probe within me and understand what my communication skills are? You can't. Even I can't. All you can see is the manifestations of my communication skills, the tangible manifestations that rise materially from my manifestation, from my communication skills. So what are they? Are they my books? Are my books a manifestation of my communication skills? Yes. They are. If I write a long mail on Yahoo groups, on Vedic astrology Yahoo groups on a particular matter, is it a manifestation of my communication skills? Yes. It is. I'm right now giving a lecture. I'm saying certain words that you can perceive, that you can hear. Are these a manifestation, a tangible manifestation of my communication skills? Yes, they are. And there is a recording being made, an MP3 file being made with my communication. Is that MP3 file a manifestation of my communication skills? Yes, it is. So, the bottom line is, the real communication skills, we don't even know what it is. But, the lectures that I give, the recordings that you guys make, the books that I write, the articles that I write, all those are manifestations of my communication skills. So, do you see them from my third house or from my A3? A3. If you look at the third house, you will not understand why I have so many communications related to astrology. I have a book, another book I am writing. I wrote so many articles in magazines, on Yahoo groups. I'm teaching. I'm giving lectures. I spoke at various conferences and seminars. All these you can't explain if you take my third house. But take A3. It is in Meena. Right? Pardon me? No, it is in 7th from Lagna. It is not in the 7th from Vrishtika. We are finding Arudha of this house. So when you apply the exception of 1st and 7th, you should say this. If the Arudha you found is here or here, then the exception applies. If it is in the 7th house from Lagna, then the exception does not apply. Is everybody clear on that? Good. So now, what does Meena show? What kind of books or lectures or speaking that I do? What is the communications that I engage in? Meena, spiritual, knowledge of the rishis, could be astrological knowledge. And then, what are the planets who have Argala on Pisces? Who are the planets having Argala on Pisces? The Argala is 2nd house, 4th house and 11th house. In the 11th house, there are 2 key planets. Who are they? Jupiter and Ketu. So, Jupiter owns Pisces and he also has Argala on Pisces. So, because of that, my A3 is strongly influenced by Jupiter. So, the books that I write, which are manifestations of my communication skills, the lectures that I give, the articles that I write, they are related to Jupiter. And they are also related to Ketu. So, Jupiter shows astrological knowledge and Ketu can also show spiritual things. So, religious, astrological, Vedic learning, these are the things in which I write books. If I write books, these are the things. And another thing, I'll come to you. Who else has Argala? Did somebody say Venus has Argala? Yes. Wrong. It's Mercury. It's Venus it's basically Mercury. Even though it looks like Venus, this is Mercury because of the Parivartana. So Mercury has Argala. So I can write things relating to Mercury. Mercury also shows astrological knowledge. And he also shows analytical. Mercury shows analytical, very Mimamsa. Mercury is the planet of Mimamsa. So he shows very analytical approach. So if you look at, for example, some other authors' books, and if you look at the book that I wrote, my book is more systematic. It is like an engineering textbook. It goes more systematically compared to many other astrological books. That is because of Mercury's Argala on my A3. My A3 is not only my books, but the way my books are. Everything related to my books you can see from my A3 in the Samsa. So I write in a very systematic way. That is because of Mercury's influence. And I write related to astrology. That is because of Meena's influence. Meena and as well as Jupiter. So like this, A3 will show books that one writes. What about weapons? Oh, actually I'll take your question.
So what about the quantity of books? How many books you write? You write many books. What is that? How do you find that thing?
Yeah, I don't want to go into that. That is not very. Quantity is always difficult. But what kind of, that is easy. And another thing that you can do is you can look at dashas. For example, when Ketu's dasha is running, this person may write some spiritual books. When Jupiter's dasha is running, he may write books relating to Vedic knowledge. When Mercury's dasha is running, he may write analytical books in astrology. So depending on various influences, there may be different kinds of books. But how many books, that is very tough. Let's not go into that.
And also, like, what is Jupiter's retrograde debilitation in Capricorn?
Debilitation is bad. Debilitation is a bad thing, like we said. But Vakratva, if a debilitated planet is Vakri, it gives results akin to being in exaltation. That is called Nicha Bhanga. So if not in Dashamsha, in any chart, including Rashi, if a planet is in Nicha, but if it is Vakra, it gives results akin to being in Ucha. So practically this Jupiter is in Ucha because of debilitation. Similarly, if a planet is in Ucha but in Vakratva, if a planet is retrograde and in exaltation, it will give results akin to being in debilitation. That is bad. Yeah, yeah, right. And retrogression, I don't know how many of you realized it, but Jupiter is shown with parentheses around him in the software, right? That is a notation that many Telugu people use for Vakratva. If a planet is going backwards, they put it in brackets, which means it's retrograde. So that is what he was referring to. Jupiter is debilitated in Capricorn because, for those of you who don't remember, if I click on Jupiter and say highlight Rasis where this planet is debilitated, actually you can't really see the color well, but you see that green color.
Yeah.
You can see, okay, Jupiter, that color comes in green. So that is Jupiter's debilitation sign. And by the way, I don't know if you realized it, but now that you have the software, you can say which houses this planet owns. You can say owned by this planet. Then those two signs show up. This can be used as a learning tool. You can say which houses are aspected by Rashi Drishti. So those three houses in green, they are aspected by Rashi Drishti. And Graha Drishti, if you want, you can say highlight Rasis aspected by this planet by Graha Drishti. And you can choose Argala, you can choose all these things, and you can learn. If you are very new to this, you can use the software and see, you can mentally calculate and see if the software is giving the same thing, and then you can correct your understanding. So you can practice Argala, Graha Drishti, Rashi Drishti, etc. using this feature of the software. And also another feature of the software is you can say relationships. So you can say permanent relationships of this planet. You can see that some planets are in red, some planets are in green. The green planets are basically friends. The planets in red are Shatrus. No, there is no Adhi in permanent relationships. There is only Shatru Mitra. This is permanent relationships. And then the grey color is, can you guess? Neutral. And then what you talked about, Adhi, those will come now. So if you select compound relationships, there is permanent, temporary and compound. So if you say compound, that will include both permanent and temporary. Temporary based on where the planets are, permanent based on their inherent nature. So if you do compound relationship, you will see that Shani and Ketu are red, but not very dark red. So those are Shatrus. Mercury, Venus and Rahu are dark red. So they are Adhishatrus. And you can see that Mars and Moon are very bright green. So those are Adhimitras. If they are only friends, it will show in a not so bright green.
So these are enemies and friends to Jupiter, is it?
To Jupiter, because I clicked on Jupiter.
Yeah, okay.
If I click on Mercury, and say relationships compound. Now for Mercury, Venus and Rahu are Adhimitras. Sun and Ketu are Samas. Jupiter, Mars and Saturn are Shatrus, and Moon is Adhishatru. So like this, you can use the software as a learning tool. And another thing that you can do perhaps, no problem, no, I have to click on a planet. Patikari Sambandhas, you can ignore these. Argalas. So if you want to see Argalas on a particular sign, of course it's very easy, but what did I say? Did I say Virodha Argala? Ah, there is a bug. What did I say? Maybe there is something broken. There is something broken. Oh, it's not broken. Sorry. Software is right. Let me say take this one.
Oh, it's because of
K2, yes.
Okay.
So, let me take this. I chose a wrong one to demonstrate. Let us take Taurus. So, what are the houses having Argala and Taurus? 2 from there, 4 from there, 5, that is secondary Argala, 11. These are the Argala sthanas. And I said another rule. If there are too many male pigs in the third house, they also have Argala, but the software is not programmed to show them. But now, the software is right. But now, why here there was a mistake? That's because Ketu was there. I chose a wrong example. There is an exception given by Gemini. If Ketu is in a particular sign, when you are seeing the Argalas on that sign, you have to count backwards. Ketu makes everything go backwards. Ketu, it's not Rahu, just Ketu. That is the exception given by Parashara. So remember that. Remember that exception. So I'm glad I actually chose this example now. I did not mention this to you. Now I mentioned it because of choosing the wrong example. So here Ketu is in Capricorn. So when you find 2, 4 and 11, you have to count backwards. So if you count backwards, this is 2, this is 4, this is 5 and this is 11. So those are the Argala Sthanas. So like this, if you are not sure in the beginning, you can experiment using the software. Now that most of you have a copy of the software, and those who don't have, you can get from, he has a couple of copies. Those who did not get it, get it.
This relates to what you said earlier. Debilitated in the 6th house, but the owner
6th house?
6th house, right now?
No, 5th house.
Oh, 5th house, sorry.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. But if the owner of the 5th house is in a Kendra or a Kona, then that is Nichabanga, right? It cancels the debilitation, is that right?
That is right.
Okay.
That is also there here.
Oh, okay.
But irrespective of it,
Yeah.
irrespective of where the Lord is,
Okay.
if the planet itself is retrograde,
Okay.
then that is Nichabanga.
Nichabanga.
The planet gives the results of being in the opposite sign. For Ucha it is Nicha, for Nicha it is Ucha. So there are different ways in which, see, the thing is, there is another rule that I did not mention. Not just the planet who owns that. Suppose Jupiter is debilitated here. You said the Lord of that house, if he is in Kendra, then there is Nichabanga. So the Lord is Shani, he is in a Kendra from Lagna. Either Kendra from Lagna or Moon, we said. Here from Lagna, he is in a Kendra. So that is one way. Another rule is, the planet who is exalted in that sign, wherever this planet is debilitated, there is another planet who is actually exalted there, who likes being there. If that planet is in Kendra, then also there is Nichabanga, either from Moon or Lagna again. So here, who is the planet exalted here? Mars. If you are not sure, again, if you can do this and say where this planet is exalted. I clicked on Mars and I said where it is exalted, Capricorn. So that is the sign. So Capricorn is a sign where Mars is exalted, and that Mars, is he in a Kendra? He is in the 4th house. From Lagna, Kendras are 1, 2, 3, 4. These are the 4 Kendras. First house, 4th house, 7th house and 10th house. So because Mars is in a Kendra, he also gives a Nichabanga to Jupiter. So there are multiple ways in which Jupiter gets Nichabanga.
So which one is preferable, like from Moon or?
No, there is nothing like preferable. The only thing is, here in this case, let us say Jupiter was not retrograde. Let us say Jupiter was not retrograde in this case. Then there is no Nichabanga on account of Jupiter himself. If there is a Nichabanga on account of Jupiter himself, that will function forever. But if there is a Nichabanga only because of Mars and Shani, Mars and Saturn, what that means is, there will be results given because of Jupiter being in Nicha originally. Jupiter gives the results of being in Nicha in the beginning. There may be some adharmic work, etc. that this person will engage in. And then, when Shani or Mars, their dasha comes, when they influence that person's life, not Jupiter, Shani and Mars have to influence because they are the ones who are breaking the Nicha. When Shani or Mars dasha comes or antardasha comes, if it is antardasha, then dasha lord also has to be favorable. If Shani or Mars dasha comes, they are fully in charge. So the Nichabanga can be affected. On the other hand, if Shani or Mars antardasha comes, that means the dasha lord has to be somebody who likes Jupiter and who is in good terms with Mars or Saturn, whoever is giving Nichabanga. So suppose, let us say Mars antardasha came, and let's say Jupiter dasha itself is running. Jupiter dasha, Mars antardasha. So in that antardasha, Nichabanga can occur.
Because Mars is in Sagittarius.
Yes. So, and in that case, the Nichabanga will be given not by Shani, but by Mars first. On the other hand, let us say Shani's dasha is giving Nichabanga. Then it will be because of Shani. So based on how Nichabanga is coming, based on which houses are involved, in the case of Mars it is 3rd and 8th house. Determination and occult activity. In the case of Shani, it is because of 5th house and 6th house. Shani is the planet of tradition. 5th house is the house of knowledge, ability, and 6th house is the house of lot of hard work. And Shani is also the planet of hard work. So basically, Nichapanga to Jupiter in this case can come because of either because of lot of traditional knowledge, ability, and also the ability to work hard to understand the traditional knowledge. Because of that, there can be Nichapanga. That is given by Shani. Or it can be because of a burning desire, a drive, strong drive, given by Mars, who owns the 3rd house and 8th house, and interest in occult knowledge. Pursuing occult knowledge and having lot of drive. From that also there can be Nichapanga to Jupiter, that is given by Mars. So either way there can be Nichapanga to me, making me do dharmic work. Otherwise I would have done adharmic work. Or in this case, all this is assuming Jupiter was not retrograde. But if Jupiter is retrograde, then there is a Nichapanga irrespective of Mars and Saturn. What that shows is, retrogression, like I said, shows strong desire from past life. If a planet is retrograde, that planet represents a strong, very strong desire, unfulfilled desire from the past life. So here Jupiter being in retrogression gave Nichapanga to him. So there is a strong desire that I carry from my past life, which is again breaking the adharma, making me do dharmic work, which will break Jupiter's Nicha and give him the result of being in Ucha. So there are 3 ways in which Jupiter's Nicha is broken. Yes, go ahead.
If Mars was a Kendra from Moon, same thing would have happened?
Yes, same thing would have happened. Yes.
Mars is the 4th house from Lagna.
Yeah.
How does he cancel the Jupiter?
Because he's in a Kendra.
Oh, that's it?
That's it.
Oh.
Because he's in Kendra and because Jupiter is in Nicha in the house where Mars is exalted.
Oh, okay.
If you are in Nicha, whoever is exalted in that sign, he can give you Nichapanga. Or the Lord of that house can give you Nichapanga. Both of them can give you Nichapanga.
This again refers to only Dasamsa, not Rasi, right? This position in Dasamsa.
Yes, because he is in Nicha in Dasamsa. If you look at Rasi, Jupiter is not in Nicha. So there is no question of Nichapanga. Yes.
You said Jupiter is in retrogression and it shows desire, past life.
Desire, strong desire from past life.
Past life. And can we know which houses, the desire of which houses by the lordship of Jupiter, or how do you know what kind of desire you have?
Yeah, the strong desire that Jupiter represents, you can see it. You can see that from the houses that Jupiter owns, the 4th house and 7th house. The 7th house of desire and interacting with people, and the 4th house of knowledge. But if you want to see what is the strong desire from past life, the best chart is G60. The Shashtyamsya is the chart of past life. So if you see the Shashtyamsya, then you will get a much better hint. So where is Jupiter in this chart?
9th house.
No.
4th house.
If you count from Lagna in Makara, 1, 2, 3, 4,
5th house.
5th house. 5th house. So Jupiter is with, that too he is with Ketu. Jupiter, a spiritual planet, is with Ketu, the Moksha planet, and he is in the 5th house of ability and scholarship. So there is some, this shows that Jupiter shows some ability, some traditional Vedic knowledge, abilities in the past life. And what houses does he own? 12th house. So those are the important houses. So whatever desire is unfulfilled from the past life, that is carried over by Jupiter, is relating to the 3rd house and 12th house. What does the 3rd house show? Drive, determination, and those things. But in addition, what did I say just now? Communication. So writing, communication, spreading knowledge. And 12th house of giving. So there was a strong desire to communicate astrological knowledge or some Vedic knowledge and give it to people. That was carried over from the past life. So because that is what Jupiter's Vakratva shows. And to answer your question, he is not debilitated here in Rashi. He is only debilitated in Dashamsa. So whichever Varga the planet is debilitated, you apply the rule in that Varga. Okay? Okay.
Going back to the one question regarding Dashamsa and A3. Now, you explained A3 in writing of books with respect to taking Ardhras as an example, but there is also this direct Graha Drishti from Mars, 4th house,
Yeah.
and also the 8th house Lord,
Yeah.
and there is also the
Yeah.
aspect from Saturn.
Yeah.
So do we use both both the aspects from Mars and Saturn only in timing, or like I want to see
Yeah.
that like
Yeah. If it is Graha Drishti, you use it only in timing. If a particular house or Arudha, for example here, what Kiran is talking about is A3 is in Pisces. So he is talking about, I talk about the Argala of Jupiter, Ketu and Mercury. Right? He is talking about the Rashi Drishti of Mars and Shani. So what he is saying is, how do we use this Drishti? Is it used only for timing when I write a book? Not necessarily, because here the Drishti is Graha Drishti as well as Rashi Drishti. Mars has 4th house Graha Drishti on this, and Shani has 7th house Graha Drishti on this. As well as, because they are all dual signs, there is Rashi Drishti also. I don't know if you remember the rules of Rashi Drishti, but all dual signs, all these corner 4 signs aspect each other always by Rashi Drishti. If there is Graha Drishti, what that shows is a desire that may be fulfilled in a particular dasha. So when Mars Antardasha or Shani Antardasha comes, there will be a book written. And that book will have the results of that Drishti. So whatever Mars and Shani show, that kind of book or that kind of article is written in that dasha or Antardasha. But because there is Rashi Drishti also, what it means is it is a permanent influence. It may not be very important, but there is a permanent influence of Mars and Shani. So usually whenever I write something, not just write, communicate. When I talk, when I speak, when I communicate, usually there is some influence of Mars and some influence of Shani. Shani is in Virgo. Shani is the planet of working hard, and he is in Virgo, the sign of intelligence. So that shows very laborious application of intelligence. Because Virgo is application of intelligence and Shani is very laborious, very hardworking. So very systematic, disciplined application of intelligence. That is one hallmark of my speech or lectures or articles or books, my communications. And the other thing is Mars has Rashi Drishti. So what does that show? Mars is in Sagittarius. So what does that show? Sagittarius is the sign of Dharma. Just like Virgo is the sign of intelligence, Sagittarius is the house of Dharma, and Mars is forceful. Just like I said for Shani, disciplined. Shani is disciplined, Mars is forceful. So forceful application of Dharma, disciplined application of intelligence or analytical ability, and forceful application of Dharma, dharmic sense. So those are hallmarks of whatever I write. Whenever I write something, it will look blunt because of Mars, and it will look very disciplined because of Shani. So compared to other people's mails that you may see on Vedic astrology list, if you see my mails, I don't write, or if I write, it will be very detailed. That's because of Shani in Virgo. And sometimes I don't look at whether if I say like this, it will be nice, people will find it nice or not. Whatever I want to say, if it is right, I just say it brutally, forcefully, bluntly. So that is Mars in Sagittarius. So those influences will always be there. But they may play a big role or small role depending on the situation, depending on the dasha.
Also transits as well? Say
Yeah, transits also will influence.
Say when Saturn is in Virgo.
Yeah. You can use Rashi Drishti will always work. Graha Drishti and Argala, they will be triggered by dasha as well as transit. But if you use dashas, you will be all set. Because learning both is very difficult. If you learn one, you will be all set. But those are temporary things that happen only at a particular time. So this is how you use. And before I conclude, I just want to make one more point. Yes, you can ask your question.
Yeah, and does Aruda rules apply for D60 also? So like can you
No.
not on or
Let us apply them only to physical and mental charts. Physical charts, I hope you remember, are up to 12, and mental charts are up to 24. Above that are subconscious. And when you talk about manifestation, even at the subconscious level, it's very difficult to define. And at the level of karmic, what is D60? It's a chart of supraconscious existence. It's not even subconscious. It's a supraconscious existence that your soul remembers from the past life. So when you are talking about that, what is the meaning of physically rising, materially rising, or manifesting in a tangible way? It's very difficult to define. But I can give you one hint. One hint is, if you take the Arudha Lagna of Shashtamsha, of D60, that is actually the Lagna of past life. So if you take the Lagna of D60 is not the Lagna of past life. That is what you have to experience in this life. And the Arudha Lagna of D60 is your actual Lagna of past life. So if you want to see, for example, my chart, the Arudha Lagna is in Aries. So in my past life, I was a very aggressive, very enterprising, very bold kind of person. And Jupiter and Ketu are in second house. Just like in my current chart. In this life chart, Jupiter is in second house, in Venusian sign. And last life also, I had Jupiter in Venusian sign in the second house. So in my last life also, I was an astrologer. I was a reasonably learned astrologer because of Jupiter with some Vagbala, just like in the current life. So like this, you can use Arudha Lagna as the Lagna and see what exactly somebody did in past life. So another thing that I want to mention is, third house is not just the house of communication skills. It is also the house of your boldness and initiative. Suppose you fight with somebody. Suppose there is a warrior who fights with other warriors. Third house is the house that shows the bravery, right? Now, third house shows the real bravery. Arudha Lagna, third house from Arudha Lagna shows the perceived bravery. How brave the person is that the people think. And the A3, the third Arudha of the third house, that shows the instruments of bravery. That shows the physical things using which people will assume someone's bravery. People will judge someone's bravery. Suppose somebody has a big sword and goes to a fight. People will think he is very brave. I mean, not necessarily, but people may think he is very brave. Using the sword, they will judge. Suppose somebody has a small knife and goes. People will not have the same fear of that person. So the fear that people have depends on your weapon. Or suppose you have a big machine gun. People will think, oh man, he's going to kill me. I have to be away from him. So when it comes to people's impression of how brave or how much Vikrama you have, people will judge it based on the weapons that you use. The better the weapon you have, the more brave you will look to the people. So A3 will show the weapons. Just like I said, books, it also shows weapons. If you are looking at the chart of a warrior, A3 is the chart of one's weapon, is the house of one's weapon. On the other hand, the third from Lagna is one's bravery. Whether he will apply that weapon or not. One may have a big sword, but he may apply it or not. So whether he will apply or not is from the true self. That is the true Parakrama that is buried inside one, that you can't see, is from the third house from Lagna. And I will just make mention of one rule, one standard rule. The rule is, if you take the Arudha, take the third and sixth from Arudha. The third house is the house of Parakrama, the initiative, and the sixth house is the house of defeating enemies or overcoming your obstacles. And when it comes to Arudha Lagna, when you take the sixth from Arudha, that is overcoming of the obstacles of image. What are the obstacles of image? As far as image is concerned, only other images are obstacles. So, as far as image is concerned, the sixth from image or sixth from Arudha Lagna is basically beating other images. He is defeating other images, pulling down other images. In the case of Lagna, the sixth from Lagna is not really pulling somebody down. It is basically overcoming obstacles, persisting and doing the thing. But in the case of, like I said, the world of Maya and the world of Satya are different. So the rules are different for Lagna and Arudha Lagna. So from Arudha Lagna, the sixth house is simply defeating other people around you. And third house is having the courage to go and defeat other people. So third and sixth define one's attitude. They are very important houses from Arudha, though not from Lagna. So if you look at the third and sixth from Arudha Lagna, see whether there are natural benefics or malefics, whether there are Saumya Grahas or Krura Grahas. Based on it, you know what is one's attitude. Whether one bravely goes and defeats other people, or whether one always lets others dominate and agrees to defeat without fighting. Whether one is a sadhu, saintly person, or whether one is materialistic person who is always selfish and takes care of his own or her own interest. That you can see from the third and sixth from Arudha. I will give an example. Let us take the example of Aishwarya Rai. Her Lagna is in Kanya. Her Mercury is in third house, Lagna Lord. So taking the third from there, this is her Arudha. Her Arudha is in Kartikan. Now from Arudha, take the third house. This is the third house. Take the sixth house. This is the sixth house. If you take houses from Arudha, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. These two are the houses. Who are the planets? Actually, the dictum that Parashara gave is not just occupying. He says Rasi Drishti also. But for now, let us ignore Rasi Drishti because that is less important. Let us take the planets who occupy these houses. So, who occupy these two houses? Third and sixth? Ketu, Shani. So, what that means is, as far as bravery is concerned, third house is concerned, there are no malefic influences. So, she is not overly brave to pull other people around her. She is not overly brave. But once she has the initiative and starts working, the sixth house has Shani and Ketu, two rank malefics. So what that means is, she can destroy other people. Once she feels inimical about somebody, she will destroy that person. She can destroy that person. She can do anything to pull down that person. So she is not a saintly person. Looking at this, even if she acts in a saintly way, you know from this that she is not a saintly person. As a matter of fact, she will not project the saintly manner as well. Arudha Lagna is what you project to the world, what the world perceives. So based on it, you see that the image that she projects to the world is that of an achiever, a materialistic achiever who can pull other people around her. On the other hand, let us take somebody, for example, let's say Swami Vivekananda. He is a saintly person. If you look at his Arudha, his Lagna is in Dhanus, Jupiter is in 11th from there, taking 11th there from, Arudha is in Leo. So from here, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So the planets are Jupiter in the third house, Venus and Mercury in the sixth house. So, does he go boldly to destroy somebody else's image? No. Because of Jupiter, he is very, when it comes to initiative of the image, he is very wise. Jupiter gives wisdom. So he is very wise and he will not go bravely and destroy other people. Not destroy. He does not go bravely to destroy other people. And as far as destroying other people is concerned, Venus and Mercury are there. Two other benefits. So, when there is a fight with somebody else, will he just withdraw and go, or will he fight and destroy other people? He will withdraw. He will not fight with other people and destroy them. So, if you look at the third and sixth from Arudha, you will see, you can find out whether somebody fights with others or destroys others. So that is another standard principle. Third and sixth from Arudha. And you will see, these are special charts. A very, very materialistic person like Aishwarya Rai, and a very, very spiritual person like Swami Vivekananda. These are the two extremes. But all of us, we are not extremes. We are not neither saints nor brutes. Sorry, again. We are in between. We are normal people. So for normal people, when you apply these principles, you will see that things are slightly different. For example, you take my chart. My Arudha is in Scorpio. So third house is empty. The sixth house is, there are 4 planets. So are there benefics or malefics? Both. Mercury and Venus, 2 benefics. Mars and Shani, 2 malefics. So basically it's 50-50. Withdrawing nicely half the time and destroying the other person when they are in your way. That is half the time. But there is another important rule that I want you to remember here. There is a rule about Ucha and Nicha. Here, Shani is a malefic. But if there is a malefic, but he is in Nicha, what that means is, you go to destroy somebody, but later you just give up. Like Ashoka Chakravarti. If a malefic is there, but in Nicha, that means you go to destroy people, but either after destroying them or in the mid of the way, you will just decide, no, this is not worth it, this is bad, you just give up. Because a malefic planet in Nicha behaves like a benefic planet. Similarly, a benefic planet in Nicha will behave like a malefic planet. So remember those rules. As far as image is concerned, as far as Arudha is concerned, Arudha Lagna is concerned, when you are looking at benefics and malefics in the 3rd and 6th houses, if you see a malefic in Nicha, you should treat that as a benefic. But not exactly like a benefic. If it's a benefic, you will not go to fight. But if it's a malefic, you will start the fight and then you give up. You said, oh, this is not worth it. This is me. You just walk away. So that is the result given by Shani there. But Mars is totally unaffected. When Mars dominates, when somebody comes in my way, I will just destroy the person. I'm just ruthless. Mars will give that ruthlessness. And when Mercury and Venus dominate, they will make me very soft-natured and they will make me withdraw. And when Shani dominates in my life, I will go to fight, but I will give up. I will withdraw nicely. I will just become a saint after being an evil person. Yeah. So that is what malefics in Nicha will show. So try to apply to your own chart, but don't share it with us. Try to apply to your own chart and people that you know, but don't apply to the chart of your spouse. And then explain to her why you think they are bad.
Narasimhaji, how does, okay, now we are looking at the Rashi chart itself, 3rd from here and 6th from here, but why don't we look at D3 and...
Yeah, you can use other charts. When you are talking about somebody's dharmic life or somebody's career, you can apply this to other vargas as well. It's not restricted just to this varga. See, for example, overall somebody may be very aggressive, but at his work he may be very soft-natured. He may be like a sadhu. At school or with wives, somebody may be very rude. With wives, somebody may be very aggressive. He may be Ravana, but at work he may be like Vasishtha Maharshi. Isn't it right? When you look at people around you, don't you see that people behave differently in different environments? So because of that, if you look at different vargas, you will get the real picture of how that particular person is in that particular activity of life. It's not always, they don't always behave the same way.
Okay. So the environment of enemies would be somehow shown by D6 or not?
Yes, D6 is enemies. Enemies as well as litigation and those things, yeah. But those are real hardcore enmities. What Rashi shows is your very physical existence. So this shows overall your sense of enmity in the physical world. So if anybody has no questions, I'll conclude. Yes, go ahead.
Not with the topic, but
Yeah.
in general.
Yeah.
I was told when I was something that I should not see my own chart.
Yeah.
Is it true? Like
In my judgment, that is not true.
it's a general.
They generally say because you can be biased.
Okay.
If somebody doesn't want to think that, see, for example, when I see my Dashamsa, when I take Mercury as the Lord of Lagna, when I see my Arudha Lagna, it has Mars, it is in Sagittarius. So people have an image of me as a forceful person. I have no problem accepting it. But somebody else may have a problem with accepting it. So they will say, oh no, but because Mars is in Jupiter's house, it shows a very dharmic person image. People will think that this person is very dharmic. So they will twist all the rules because they don't want to think negatively about them. Every person has positives and negatives about them. But when it comes to your own negatives, many people are unwilling to accept the negatives. So what will end up happening is, you will twist the rules and you will learn twisted rules. That is not a good thing. So if you have the maturity to accept good and bad about you and not be biased by it, then your own horoscope is the best. Because other people you don't know. You know a lot about your own inherent self. Whereas with other people, all you know is their Arudhas. You see their Arudha Lagna, their year 2, their year 3, their year 5. You don't know their first house, second house, fifth house. You have absolutely no idea. How can you judge them? So based on wrong ideas about different people, you will learn principles and you can learn wrong things. So on the other hand, if you take your own chart, you know yourself thoroughly, very well, much better than any other person. So your own chart is it's a very good instrument for learning. So in my judgment, you should learn from your own chart, but you should not be biased if you see something wrong or something bad, because we are all bad, partly.
How about the kids charts? They say like till 12.
Again, yeah, some people say that you should not see at a very young age, but I'm not sure why. It's a matter of opinion, but in my opinion, you can see as soon as somebody is born. for example, as soon as I was born, my father saw my chart, and even before my son was born, my father expected him to be born in Tula. He made the chart even before he was born. We decided even the name. It's not really, when you see, it's not really important. The bottom line is, there may be Balaristas. Some charts may have Balaristas, which are basically, somebody may have a very short life, somebody may die very young. And if a learned astrologer sees and says it, oh, he has Balarista, it may fructify. So some people are afraid of using their Vagbala in a negative way, so they don't want to see the chart. But on the other hand, on the other side, if there is a Balarista, you can suggest remedies to see the chart. So it is actually better to see the chart. And another thing is, if you see your own Kish chart again, you may be very unbiased regarding your own self. You may see, yeah, people think I am bad, or you may think I am bad, but with your kids you can never say that. You always look at your kids very positively. It's very difficult to look at your kids negatively. So it's very tough to be unbiased with your own kids. Let me put it this way. When you look at your wife's chart, it's very easy to be unbiased. Actually, you will be biased in a negative way. If there is something bad, you will magnify it. But if you look at your own chart, you will tend to suppress it. If you look at your kid's chart, you will not see it at all. There's no question of even suppressing. You won't see it. So that's why it's not good to learn from your kid's chart. But again, it depends on your maturity.
It's another question again. I asked you, but I wanted to remind you, it's regarding the mantras.
Yeah.
So Om as just one letter mantra.
Yeah.
Om is the mantra in itself.
Yeah, it is.
Is it that it strengthens your first house?
Yeah,
So
it
source
strengthens
and
your very
destination-
existence.
Source and destination, both are your first.
Everything is the first house. So it strengthens your very existence.
And I asked you about Surya, just reciting Surya.
Surya like that.
Surya. So that would be two letters. So
Yeah.
destination is the second house.
Yeah,
And source would be first.
first house. So your existence is taken as the source. The God is son of the mantra. He is in the third house. Because source is in the first house, number of words. Destination, number of letters is in the second house, because two letters. So 1 and 2, the difference is 1. So taking another 1, the Devata Sthana is third house. So sun is in the third house. And for sun, third house is good. Because he is a malefic planet, Upajayas are good for sun. Third and sixth houses are good for sun. So if sun is in the third house of your determination, he will make you determined, and he will, second house is the house of resources. So he will give you resources that are important for doing your karma.
How does this
So it is a good mantra.
Okay, so how
This is especially good if your second house or first house are weak. Sorry, second house is weak.
okay, so how does this play? First and second houses are exchanging, like it,
Not exchanging, what it means is the strength in the first house is taken, and that is used to remove the weakness in the second house, strengthen the second house.
What if the second house Lord is in first itself? If both are exchanging their house.
Oh, in your chart, second house Lord, first house Lord has Parivartana?
Yeah.
Okay.
And they are sun, so does that?
So what that means is, if you are, as far as resources in your karma are concerned, your second Lord is in the second house itself, because of the Parivartana, as a result of the Parivartana. So what that means is, you should be very resourceful. As far as resources for doing karma are concerned, you should have a lot of resources like money, speech, etc. You should have those in plenty. You should have them in abundance. But for some reason, if there are other influences like other planets involved in this Parivartana, they may be blocking the Parivartana. So even the first Lord is in second and second Lord are in first. They should behave like this. Second Lord in second, first Lord in first, right? Based on the rules that I mentioned. But there may be blockages which are blocking that Parivartana. In that case, if you do this mantra, Surya, 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 especially if Sun is involved with this Parivartana, then what will happen is that Parivartana will give its full results. So that mantra is very good for you because of the Parivartana. Any other questions? Okay. So with that, we will finish for today. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti.